Everybody, welcome back to coverage here from Grand Prix Denver. I am Marshall Sutcliffe. I am in the booth with Rashad Miller, and we're going to be taking a look here at Sam Black on the left-hand side of your screen, playing his air quotes zombies deck versus Luis Scott Vargas. And Luis is on the deck that really put him on the map on the Pro Tour with his first victory, Elves. It's also a deck you're quite fond of.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of fond of both of these decks.
Now, you were playing in that same Pro Tour.
Yeah, I played in that Pro Tour. I didn't win it, though.
You did well, though, right?
I did okay.
Yeah.
I did all right.
Look at you, getting all modest.
Well, enough about me. We got actually two people who actually play this game.
That's true.
Very well.
And it looks like it's starting right now. We've got a fetch land here for Luis Scott Vargas to kick things off.
Now, the Elf decks used to not play any fetch lands because there really wasn't a reason to. And now, because of Deathrite Shaman, the fact that there's an elf that no one knew, well, everyone who actually read the card knew that it was an elf, but just looking at the card doesn't feel elf-like.
Right.
But the fact that being able to benefit from having fetch lands in your deck and needing the green and the black to be able to activate both of his abilities just made building your deck so much different.
Yep. Now, Luis fetched up a forest here because he's already got a Bayou in his hand. And he also played a Green Sun Zenith for 0 to get a Dryad Arbor for some acceleration.
Which is also a forest.
Indeed.
It's a forest Dryad.
And
I like to let people know what cards do.
That's good. Hey, this is Legacy. I don't take it for granted that people know all the cards. In fact, I have to look up some of them sometimes. So, Sam Black here has drawn his card for the turn and is contemplating his first land drop, and it looks like he's already deep in the tank here. He does not want to make a sequencing error this early in the match. Both players sitting at 8-1. This is a pretty big match for both of them. Going to 9-1 is a really great position. It looks like he's going to lead with just a Deathrite Shaman and pass the turn back.
Yeah, I think a lot of his decision process has to do with maximizing landfall with the other lands that he has in his deck, in his hand, because he has a fetch land, which allows him to get 2 landfall triggers, and an Undiscovered to Paradise, which will give him longevity in the landfall category. But, if he leads with the Undiscovered to Paradise, it's going to go back to his hand.
That's
and
right.
He's only going to have 1 mana on the following turn.
That's right. All right, so it is going to be a Bayou fetched off of a Misty Rainforest here for Luis. And let's see what he has for his turn 2.
He has 3 mana. That's a lot of mana.
That is a lot of mana. I also see that he's got a Glimpse of Nature in hand.
I think we might see a lot of action.
Might see some fireworks here. I see he's also got a... All right, there's a Glimpse, and he's going to draw 2 here, I believe. No, there's only 1. All right, so Deathrite Shaman's going to draw him a card.
Ooh, Priest of Titania. That's a card.
I think that's just a one-of for Luis. He plays the Llanowar Elves. Ooh, a white border Llanowar Elves, and draws another card. So, as you put it, Rashad, it was a value Glimpse.
Yeah, if Luis had drawn into a mana engine card, like Heritage Druid, then there's a possibility that he could go off.
Okay.
But actually, he wouldn't have been able to get a 3rd elf out onto the battlefield.
Okay.
So, he really wants to just wait till the next turn.
All right, Cabal Therapy. I didn't hear what he named, but let's see what's revealed here. So that's a Priest of Titania, an Elvish Visionary, his own Deathrite Shaman, and a Bayou.
I'm guessing he didn't name any of those cards.
He named Wirewood Symbiote.
Probably the most powerful card in his deck.
Wirewood Symbiote is? We've seen it be early targets for removal time and time again, so it certainly gets respect.
I mean, really, when it's in play, it's the only target for removal.
Because it just bounces everything else.
Yeah, it blanks all of your removal spells on any other elf, on any elf on the battlefield.
Right, so let's see what Sam's second play is. He's going to play Badlands and a Carrion Feeder. As he pauses.
So Sam has an Undiscovered Paradise of Marsh Flats and Lingering Souls in his hand.
Yeah.
This hand does not interact
this
well with elves. This is not a good hand.
No, and the fact is that Sam Black's deck is in fact running Goblin Bombardment, and it can really dismantle Luis's board state pretty quickly if he can get there. But it looks like Sam has opted to just flash back Cabal Therapy and get rid of that Elvish Visionary from Luis's hand.
Yeah, because Luis's hand was just full of mana, and a lot of mana is great to have, but if you don't have any card drawing, you can't draw into those threats, then it's just a bunch of 1/1s, really.
That's right. All right, so he's going to play his Deathrite Shaman, and is he going to run the Priest of Titania out there too? Or?
Well, it looks like he has 2 Priests of Titania in his hand, but he only has 1 in his deck, right?
I couldn't see what his other card was.
It kind of looked like one, but it couldn't have been because he only has one. So Luis has access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana on its following turn. So
yeah, Priest of Titania taps to add green, 1 green to your mana pool for each elf in play.
Yeah, and there are 4 elves in play. They even count your opponent's
It will
elves.
count the other one, right?
It counts your opponent's elves too.
And it counts itself, so...
So actually it makes 5 mana because of that right.
Yeah, so 5 mana
So he has
there.
12 mana. So Luis is just looking for any type of card drawing engine. And I believe he has 1 creature in his hand that he had to have left in his hand in case he draws a glimpse. So that he can, so that he can actually draw cards and draw into something relevant.
All right, so it looks like Sam Black has played a Faithless Looting and discarded a Lingering Souls. He's going to flash back Lingering Souls now to create a couple of tokens.
No,
he's asking Luis for tokens, and Luis is going to pull out a couple of, hey, Luis got Vargas
He's got
tokens.
a wallet full of tokens.
Yeah, you know, I made that one for him.
I like it.
The one with the scarf.
Did you make the whole token, or did you just put the scarf on
I
it?
put the mountain behind it, and I put the scarf on it.
I like that.
Yeah, it was from when we were on the Magic Cruise.
Oh,
His wife had me make that.
You're a nice person.
I'm a sweetheart, aren't I?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, she's nice.
Oh, look what we just drew.
What did you draw? A Visionary?
Right, we drew Elfish Visionary, so...
All right, so see if we can get the ball rolling.
Good luck
here.
to us.
All right, us being the elf player, apparently. All right, he's got a Green Sun Zenith, so he's got tons of mana now.
Tons of mana and a Zenith.
Yeah, he can Green Sun Zenith for a Behemoth
so Luis
here.
Vargas actually has more than enough mana to Green Sun Zenith.
But he's counting up his creatures because he needs to see how many he's going to have untapped when the Behemoth comes down.
And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
5, 6, 7.
That's 10 mana, so that's Green Sun Zenith for 7. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, for 8, so for Craterhoof Behemoth.
Did he actually? Oh, because it's only... Yeah, that was 10 mana, so that's like he can do it for 9.
Yeah, he can do it for more, and it's no problem, and it was actually enough to be lethal because he had the Dryad Armor plus all of his other creatures.
Right.
All right, so we see Luis Scott Vargas take down game 1 here in impressive fashion.
We only saw one zombie from Sam Black.
Yeah, Sam's deck actually has quite a few tools to take care of the Elves matchup, but he didn't seem to have any of the really good ones. He had a Cabal Therapy that he was able to use to slow Luis down, but Luis hit the Green Sun Zenith that he needed to win.
Yeah, and do we know if Sam kept a 7-card hand? So he mulled to 6, so it's reasonable to not try to, mull to 5. And I have to believe that he mulled to 6 looking for a better hand to interact with elves. Because really, he only has one way to interact with elves, which is kill all the elves.
Kill all the elves, and he can do that, but it does take a little time to get set up. All right, we're going to take a quick peek over here at Patrick Cox versus VD. We just saw VD, and it looks like we've come in while they're resolving mulligans.
Take a quick peek at them.
It's some shuffling.
So is this a mulligan shuffle? So this is a mulligan shuffle. So
Pat Cox has taken down the game 1 here
in pretty fast fashion.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter that he said yesterday that this was the first time that he was undefeated after day 1 of the GP, which I kind of found that hard to believe because he's had some pretty reasonable GP success, but that's what he put on Twitter.
It's pretty hard to be undefeated.
No, look,
but
I believe that.
This GP has a lot of undefeated players at the end of day 1 because of we were really close to
bumping up to the
bumping
9 rounds.
Another round, so.
We ended up playing 8 rounds yesterday. It's pretty customary these days for us to play 9, but we didn't quite make the cut for that as far as number of players. There's 700 players in this Legacy tournament here in Denver. And and as a result, we had 150 players that advanced to day 2.
Oh, yeah.
A little more than normal.
Last round. It's not used to sitting around here. Last round. Yeah. Probably should have been that round.
Oh, so we're just watching
good for us
shuffle.
but bad for like most people. Yeah.
Who's in charge here?
100 people. Yeah, it's like very stupid.
I mean, I've seen some paperwork that could say that maybe me.
Yeah.
But I'm over here. I can only be so in charge over here. But
fair enough.
We did see.
I mean, it's just both matches are shuffling. There's not much we can do here. Yeah.
So we're going to be watching Vidianto's deck again, which we just saw last round, and he's playing the Stoneforge Mystic
Esper
NJ.
Stoneblade.
Basically, yes,
Yep.
because this began the era that I'd like to look at in Legacy, where the best cards in Magic, which is what Legacy is all about, started becoming cards, designed in the current sets.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
as soon as
you do
Stoneforge
see that.
Mystic and Jace the Mind Sculptor, they were both in around the same era, and all of the Legacy decks were just playing those two cards in Batterskull, and that
that's really interesting, Rashad. Now that I look at VD's list, so many of his cards are from the modern era. Since I've been playing Stoneforge Mystic, Snapcaster Mage, Vendilion Click, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Batterskull, Spell Pierce. These are all cards that we've seen recently.
Yeah, and it's actually good to be able to see cards that are being, newly made, make it into Legacy deck or define in their own Legacy decks.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, because Legacy, you can play whatever you want in Legacy, and if you want to play cards that were, made in the last 1 or 2 years, you should be able to. At least some of them. Right?
I think so too, and it makes it more accessible for people like me who came back to the game after playing for a while. Kind of back in the day. It looks like Pat Cox is going down to 5 here. And, for somebody like me to see some cards that I recognize and see some cards that I really like after they rotate out of Standard, I can play them in Modern. I really love playing Modern, but it's nice to see them make a splash in Legacy because it can kind of get me interested in it because I know some of the cards and then I can learn the other ones. It's a little daunting if you look at a Legacy deck and you haven't played with the cards before. All right, we're just going to go back. Our sneak peek attempt has failed because of mulligans.
Yeah, but I do love their shuffling technique. It's very crisp.
Thank you, Rashad.
You're welcome.
I like that coverage. All right, so we're going to pop back over to our main feature match here between Luis Scott Vargas and Sam Black, and they are underway. It looks like Sam has led off with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, and Luis Scott Vargas has searched up a Dryad Arbor with Green Sun Zenith for his turn 1.
So the only player with the Elfin play right now is the Zombies deck.
That's true. On turn 1, no less.
Sam's doing a good job of hiding his cards from us.
He is indeed.
Thanks, Mr. Black.
All right, he's going to just kick off here with a Dark Confidant, which is going to give him a steady stream of card advantage for the rest of this game, as it's not going anywhere.
One of the things, Sam has a lot of experience playing against an elf deck, and he knows that he actually has another turn before Luis Scott Vargas can actually go off. Even though Luis played Green Sun Zenith for a Dryad Arbor, which effectively works as a Llanowar Elf on turn 1, it's not as good as a Llanowar Elf because being an elf actually is more beneficial on turn 1.
Okay, I see.
Because it allows you to, say, play 2 more elves on turn 2, and one of them being a Heritage Druid, which means you just play 2 elves, and now you have 3 mana again.
Right.
This way, all he has done is added 1 mana to his pool for next turn, and he still needs to build up his, threshold of elves.
Okay, and as you just said, he's led off with 2 Nettle Sentinels here, which, man, that's not going off. It's a fine start.
And he didn't make another land drop.
That's right. Now, Sam Black reveals Cabal Therapy to his Dark Confidant trigger, and he's also going to play a Tidehollow Sculler,
Which is a zombie.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And he's going to reveal a Glimpse of Nature, Wirewood Symbiote. Oh, he's got the Crater of Behemoth in hand, and he's also got the Heritage Druid that you just mentioned, plus the 2 Nettle Sentinels, so things are going to get hairy, and also another elf in the form of a Llanowar.
This is the engine right here. This is the perfect hand. Luis Scott Vargas is going to untap and win the game.
Right, so is he going to take Heritage Druid here then, or does he take Glimpse, or what's the play?
I think you take the Glimpse, because if you take the Heritage Druid, he can still use the Glimpse and then just draw a bunch of cards, get a bunch of creatures on the board, make this big presence, and still have cards in his hand.
Okay.
If you take the Glimpse, he can play all of his cards, and then next turn maybe have enough mana to play Crater of Behemoth, but then that gives you a turn to interact with his board position, and maybe use some type of red spell to kill creatures. But it looks like
he is going to take the Druid, but remember, he's got a Cabal Therapy in his hand that he just drew. Now he's going to need to play a mana or be able to activate his Deathrite Shaman to take away another spell, but he certainly can.
I don't think Sam has played a land yet.
He has not, because last turn he played the Bop.
Right, so if he actually has another land and a Cabal Therapy, he could just destroy Luis's hand.
Which seems like what's happening here, right? Because I think that Sam would probably agree with what you said about taking Glimpse here, so it looks like he's gonna do that now. He might even, let's see what he does. Yeah, he has a scrub land in his hand. He's also just got a Bloodstained Mire, so he's going to get a chance to, he's got access now to 2 mana. I mean, this could be really bad for Luis if he's got, a couple of Cabal therapies, or if he just wants to play it and flash it back.
I mean, really, one Cabal therapy is, just play it, take the glimpse, flash it back.
I mean, what is he going to, he's going to sack the Deathrite Shaman in that case?
Or the Dark Confidant if you're feeling really confident. But I
think
really
he wants to keep that,
Yeah, but I mean, both of those cards are really good, both Deathrite Shaman and Dark Confidant. What would be awesome? Oh, I guess he didn't get a red mana, but it would have been awesome.
Very skillful.
So,
a Faithless Looting. I'll do keep the one. I'll skip the one, yeah.
Or any way to discard the Cabal therapy. But looks like we're just going to play it.
It's not very good.
You're just going to play
Cabal therapy when you know your opponent's hand. Oh, he's going to take the Symbiote here, and he is going to flash it. Oh, does he have another? He does have another one. Wow, he's going to take the Glimpse, and he's leaving Luis with only 2 cards left in his hand. And he could even just strip his entire hand if he wanted here. Although, I think he wants to keep
both of the cards that he has, he really wants to keep. And he has a Lingering Souls in his hand, so he'd much rather sacrifice those 1/1, tokens instead of any of his creatures actually do things other than attack.
That's right. And so Luis is going to battle in with his 2 Nettle Sentinels. They're going to both get untapped. And he is going to play Aquarian Ranger that he's drawn, and he knows the last card in his hand. He's just going to ship the turn back.
Now, one of the biggest things about the Elf decks from the beginning of time, since these cards like Aquarian Ranger was in Standard, is Aquarian Ranger allows you to play maybe 4 to 5 less forests in your deck. Because all you need is 1 forest, and you can replay it and basically untap, say, a Llanowar Elf to get. You basically get more mana than you would if you just
had another land.
Just played another land.
Okay.
And it also combos well with Dryad Armor, because now he has a 1/1 creature that he can block with a return to his hand.
Yes.
And
we saw him return it and replay it after he played the Aquarian Ranger last turn. Now Sam he's playing a Faithless Looting here. He revealed another Tidehollow Sculler to his Dark Confidant, so he's got multiple ways to take care of that Craterhoof Behemoth that's in Luis Scott Vargas' hand right now, so that is not, he will not end the turn with that in his hand.
Right, but and Luis is really far away from being able to cast that card, and the fact that it's in his hand means that Natural Order isn't a possibility.
Yeah.
But the best thing that Luis can do is top deck a Cradle, with still having Craterhoof Behemoth in his hand, and then he'd be able to cast it. So those are really the only cards that would make that Craterhoof Behemoth relevant, aside from, just building a spectacular board position from nowhere.
Sam is deciding what he wants to attack with, and he's going to send him with the Tidehollow Sculler. Luis has to think this one over.
He's inviting him to get his Heritage Druid back.
Yeah, but it's just, but Sam just has he has a Zealous Persecution.
Wow! Zealous Persecution. All of your creatures get +1/+1, and all your opponent's creatures get -1/-1.
And then he finishes off the last Nettle Sentinel with a Dark Blast that he used after he removed Luis Scott Vargas's land with his Deathrite Shaman. I mean, Sam Black is just laying a beat down here.
I don't think we have to worry about that Craterhoof Behemoth for a while now.
I think that Sam feels quite comfortable with that being stuck in Luis Scott Vargas's hand. He reveals a Thoughtseize. I see he's got a Goblin Bombardment in his hand just in case Luis has any plans to recover here.
That's
and I think Luis is just going to, Luis says, all right, we've seen enough here. Let's go to game 3. So that game was completely different than game 1.
We're actually seeing some sideboard cards come out for Sam, which directly interact with the Elf deck.
And a lot of those cards Sam has in the main deck too.
Yeah, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Sam's deck is designed to, deal a bunch of packets of 1 point of damage over the course of the game. And really, if he sets up a dream scenario, like with a Gravecrawler, or, a Gravecrawler, or just...
a Bloodghast.
Yeah, Bloodghast, and he's able to bring it back to the battlefield and re-sacrifice with the Goblin Bombardment, then yes, that can be used to kill a bunch of elves.
Yeah.
But really, he wants to use that to kill one opponent.
Sure. I mean, I think against the Elves player, you kill the Elves and you're going to end up winning. All right, so let's take a look at Patrick Cox versus Vidi. I think Patrick Cox is still up a game here. All right.
Yep, it's still 1-0.
But VD has whatever that token is.
Let's play guess the token. It's got to be a Lingering Souls token.
Okay, yeah, Lingering Souls token is a good guess. And he's also got a Stoneforge Mystic with a Jitte in his hand.
Ooh, Engineered Explosives, another blast from the past.
Uh-huh.
You can blast, you get it.
No.
Explosive.
Oh, Explosive Blast, yes, okay. And he looks like he's going to go ahead and do it for 1.
Very close to being lopsided in one direction.
He's going to take out the Deathrite Shaman, and he's going to attack.
Then I passed the turn back.
Pat Cox is going to draw his card,
That
shift
really
the
just
turn back.
shows, how much people respect the Deathrite Shaman, because
Man, they sure do.
the card, the amount of cards you can actually get rid of with the Engineered Explosives is usually not just, it's not one.
Uh-huh.
A card in 3 mana in Legacy to kill a 1/1. That must mean that 1/1 he's got to go.
Absolutely. Pat Cox is all the way down to 4 life here, and it looks like VD is in the driver's seat to take down game 2 here. So probably going to get a game 3. We'll try to bring you that depending on what happens in our main feature match with LSV versus Sam Black.
And Viniato has a handful of equipment.
Yeah, he does, but it looks like he's just said, I don't even need it. I'm just going to keep battling here. There's
We're going to win this
Snapcaster
game
Mage.
Squire style.
Yeah, look at him. He's doing exactly that. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, Squires get there for VD.
Sometimes all you need is a 1/2.
You just turn them sideways, and
It took a long time.
looks like we're just finishing
Yeah, I guess.
shuffling the
Like
mulligans
one
and
land.
such on our main
One land
feature
block.
match. We'll go back to that right now as the
Back in
players
the
are
game.
presenting their decks. For those of you just joining, we're in round 9, 10 here from
Yeah.
Denver.
Playing
Is that where we're
Legacy.
at?
Yeah,
Denver? Yeah,
it's
playing
Grand Prix
Legacy.
Denver.
Yeah.
This is Legacy.
Who are the commentators? Well, I'm Rashad Miller. That's Marshall Sutcliffe.
How you doing? That's my best Marshall.
That was it?
That's all I got.
Yeah, and we're here in the booth covering a really. I really think this is an interesting matchup with Sam Black versus Luis Scott Vargas. Luis is on Elves, and Sam is playing his quotes zombie deck. He does have to play some zombies, but it's really more of a kind of a grindy graveyard interaction deck, which is really interesting. He's the only one that plays this deck. He designed it himself. And let's see what Luis has. He has a Windswept Heath into a Bayou and into a Nettleton.
Now this is
That's
actually
a-
this is a very good start.
Is it?
Well, it is because you want your
That thing
Nettle-
doesn't make mana.
Yeah, it doesn't make mana by itself.
Okay.
With the Heritage Druid, it makes a third of a mana every spell you cast.
Okay.
Because of the untap ability. Now these decks used to play.
Round 6.
I'm trying to remember the green creature with morph that.
Birchlore Rangers?
They-
Yeah, there's one in I don't know if Luis has one, but I know that.
He does have. He actually does have one Birchlore Ranger.
Okay.
So with a Birchlore Ranger,
All right, Thoughtseize for Sam Black. And he sees Craterhoof, Behemoth, Visionary, Symbiote.
so Symbiote's got to go.
Yep. Like you said, it just protects everything else, so it's just. You said it's the most powerful card in the deck?
Yeah, it is the most powerful card in the deck because not only do you get to protect all of your elves, you get to reuse elves like Elvish Visionary.
Which is a huge, huge advantage.
And while you're doing that, you get to untap an elf, which means that's +1 mana or plus 10 mana if it's a Priest of Titania.
Ooh, definitely boarded in.
When that card was printed,
Priest?
elf players, well, I'm thinking of Warrior Symbiote.
Oh, yeah,
When Warrior Symbiote was printed, elf players just went mad. Or I should say, I went crazy. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm playing elves. There was an influx of elves in that standard block as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, so Elvish Visionary for Luis Scott Vargas. He passes the turn back to Sam Black, and let's see what Sam can come up with here. He's going to play a Scrubland into a Dark Confidant. Like you said, Sam knows this matchup well, and he knows, especially with the board state as it is, that Luis is going to have a hard time just completely going off this turn.
Yeah.
Now, if Luis does have a
Well, he
Heritage Druid, does he have an opportunity to just make a ton of mana and go off here? Or
I don't know that he can go off. He could only play most of the cards in his hand. I mean, he could get a whole bunch of creatures on board. But right now, he
Oh, that was
what just happened? All right, so it
he
looks like he
attacked,
attacked.
and before blockers, he killed the Dark Confidant with Abrupt Decay.
Okay, and
That's
that's
what
going
just
to
happened.
allow him to untap his.
And then I was about to say
Sentinel.
he drew a wire with Symbiote.
Oh, and he drew a Wired Symbiote as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so let's see what Sam has to answer. Right now, Luis has a reasonable board position. He's got 4 power with Sam Black on 12. He could just go limited style and 3-turn clock in here pretty easily as well.
If there are no creatures put on the board for Sam Black, no resistance to these little bitty beaters, then he can attack for 4, return his Elvish Visionary, untap his Wireless Symbiote, play the Elvish Visionary, untap his Nettle Sentinel, draw a card, play another guy, and then pass the turn and have even more power on the board. And,
That's right.
And more cards in his hand.
Yeah. Sam's going to go down to 11 after he cracks a fetch land.
Now Sam really, this is another hand from
All right, there's
Sam
a Dark
Black
Blast.
that didn't have a
Oh,
lot
excuse me, that's a Tragic
Yeah,
Slip.
that's a Tragic Slip. Just as good in this situation.
Yep, so it's going to take out the Symbiote, and he is going to follow up with a Tide Hollow Sculler. He's going to show him an Elvish Visionary and a Craterhoof Behemoth, and Sam is going to take away the Visionary because Luis is miles away from casting that Craterhoof Behemoth at the moment.
And actually that Tragic Slip was a big play because being able to return Elvish Visionaries and replay them multiple times meant that Luis Scott Vargas would have been able to draw into something to, run away with this game. But the combination of being able to Tragic Slip that Wireless Symbiote and then taking that Elvish Visionary, now Luis Scott Vargas is living off the top of the deck, which has been nice to him.
It has. He's got a Green Sun Zenith here, so is he going to go get another symbiote, or what is he going to grab?
Symbiote is probably the better one, like one of the top choices, because
There
right
it
now
is.
the only thing he can really do is try to get more cards than he has, and Symbiote allows him to do that with the Elvish Visionary.
All right, so let's see if Sam Black has an answer for the Elvish Visionary or the symbiote here. He needs to be able to take care of that so that he doesn't let Luis start drawing multiple cards
Well,
per turn.
I see an answer right here, Pithing Needle.
Pithing Needle
maybe
naming
we'll have
symbiote?
our awesome graphic to tell us what's going to be named with Pithing Needle.
I'll name my rest of it.
All right, Undiscovered Paradise for Sam Black, and it's going to be a Lingering Souls. So doesn't have a huge effect immediately here, but it certainly can later.
Look at that. Wirewood Symbiote.
Nate Price on point.
That was pretty
A
good.
little nudge and boom, there it is.
There's Dried Arbor.
There's about 10 minutes left in registration for the Sunday Super Series.
Undiscovered Paradise goes back to Sam Black. Let's see what he has to do for this turn. We know he can flash back Lingering Souls, but here's also a Faithless Looting.
Once again, last 12%
And Faithless Looting in Sam's deck is basically just draw 2 cards. Because the cards
It often is,
yeah, the cards that Sam Black discard usually can be cast from his graveyard,
Yeah.
or they just come right back to the battlefield from the graveyard.
I see him discard Bloodghast all the time with that and just getting it back immediately.
Yeah.
He did discard a Thoughtseize and a Hymn to Turok, I believe. Is that? Oh no, a Cabal Therapy. Excuse me. He does now have a Lingering Souls and a Faithless Looting in his graveyard, so he's got some action here going forward.
Now, I don't think Sam knows any cards in Luis's hand, except for
The Craterhoof Behemoth, yeah.
And, he does, if he wanted to Cabal Therapy that, they actually see him counting mana. You saw him pointing at his land. He's trying to see how far off he is from casting that Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah.
And really, this deck is always one Gaia's Cradle away from doing it.
Yeah. All right, he shows that his other card is, in fact, a Green Sun Zenith, and he's going to take that away.
Oh, my.
With a Tide Hollow Sculler, so he has Luis all the way down to 0 cards, but Luis does have a small board presence here with Sam Black on 9. Unfortunately, Sam's creatures are just bigger at the moment. Sam's going to play his Undiscovered Paradise because why not? And ship the turn back. And Sam looks like he's taken a pretty firm grip on this game here.
Now, the funny thing is, this Nettle Sentinel is going to be able to get in a lot of free attacks.
Sam can trade it with a Tide Hollow Sculler if he wants.
I don't know that he wants to. Both of those cards are very good on
That's right.
those Tide Hollow Scullers.
That's right.
And trading,
But he's got flashback on Lingering Souls here. And I think trading off 2 tokens for the Nettle Sentinel at some point is probably going to be in the future here. Sam does need to find a way to start getting in enough damage here. Again, if he wants to attack with those Tide Hollow Scullers, then it's going to give Luis the chance to double block, take on some risk, but maybe get back one of his key cards.
Right. Sam actually isn't in the best shape. He's gotten Luis to the point where he can't win right now. But with Sam being at such a low life total, he has to play defensively. He can only attack with one of his tokens. And this race, given the cards that are in play now, Luis is still going to win this. It's going to be, Sam's going to be forced to block with one of his tie-down scullers, which is just going to blow the game wide open for Luis Scott Vargas.
Okay. I still like Sam from this position.
I mean, we're both living off the top of the deck.
He draws a 1/1 for 1.
Right. As long as Luis can draw green spells, he's going to be able to attack with Nettleson. So now he actually traded his 2 tokens for that Nettleson.
Yeah, he did.
So now Luis has 14 turns to draw into some other business spell before he's actually dead to Sam Black's board position.
All right, well, Sam Black, we're going to see if he can change that situation as he's flashing back Faithless Looting here, and he's going to discard a Gravecrawler, which he can bring back, and a Swamp. All right, so he's going to play Undiscovered Paradise. He is going to tap it for mana, and he's going to get Gravecrawler back. So that's going to give him a little bit more pressure here.
It does actually give him more pressure.
Yep.
It will force Luis to probably have to block with his Wireward Symbiote on the Gravecrawler, which he really doesn't want to do, but you know his life is going to get lower and lower.
Okay, interesting.
This is very interesting.
Now he's drawn Kasali Pridemage, which he's going to use to take out that Pithy Needle and make his Wireward Symbiotes active again. And boom, he can start returning stuff.
And untap the Dryad Arbors. That's it. It's +1 mana.
Yep, and he is going to use his Elvish Visionary immediately to draw a card. He's going to crack his Wooded Foothills, get another forest.
I'm
All
wondering what
right,
he
so
drew.
I'm curious what he drew as well. Looks like he's going to return this again. Tap it for mana.
Oh,
And
wow.
it is Aquarian
He
Ranger.
did not play a land this turn. He gets to return a land, untap his Dryad Arbor, replay the land.
Return this.
Or did he actually play a
I
land
think
this
he
turn?
replayed the. Yeah, let's find out. All right, he's going to play his Elvish Visionary, but I think he might have.
No,
he
did play
did
a land.
not play a land. And he's going to say go. All right, so he's improved his board position substantially here. He's got one unknown card in hand, right? That isn't a land he returned or something?
We don't know what that card is.
Okay.
It's one of
It's
the
the
cards
card he drew from
off of,
Visionary?
Yes,
All right.
it's the card he drew off of Visionary.
And
So-
Sam doesn't know what it is either. So what does Sam have to fight back here?
Well, I mean, he has a lot of powerful cards. One being Zealous Persecution. He only has one in his deck after sideboard. But if he draws it right now, you know, all these, you know, well, the 2 Wireless Symbiotes are definitely dead.
Yep.
And
He just passes the turn back, though. Luis took the 3 damage and dropped to 9. He's going to use one of the activations now to return the Elvish Visionary. And he's also going to return his Ranger. Draw a card for the turn.
he draws Natural Order.
Okay.
He also has a Glimpse in his hand. That was the card that he actually drew.
Oh, it was off of the.
So that makes sense why he.
That's why he's
returned the-
returning all his creatures. Sure.
So this is probably just going to be a Glimpse turn, because the Glimpse turn can always end with that Natural Order if he draws into a Cradle or anything that
Okay.
makes a bunch of mana.
All right, so he's going to play a Korean Ranger, draw a card. All right, so can Luis Scott Vargas go off here, even though Sam Black has completely destroyed his hand and his board at one point?
Where there's the Virtual Rangers, which
And
means-
you see Sam just throw down his hand.
because he knows this is going to be a long
He's going to
turn.
be watching. But this is kind of a pleasure to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
Luis is very proficient with this deck.
I mean, this is classically what you want to assemble with a combo deck. You need a card drawing engine and a mana engine. And the card drawing engine is the Glimpse of Nature, and the mana engine is our Virtual Ranger, which means that every time he plays 2 elves,
he gets a mana
he
back.
gets a mana back.
Okay. And he's got an Elvish Visionary to draw 2 cards here.
And I believe I just saw a Heritage Druid.
Now he's going to need a few more elves to make that work, right?
Yeah. He needs 1 more elf with that Heritage Druid. But he has the ability to untap an elf with Wireward Symbiote.
Okay.
So he can return an elf to untap an elf.
Right,
And he
he's
also
gonna-
has Korean Ranger to return a forest to untap an elf if he really wanted to.
Okay.
Turn Range my hand.
So he is returning Korean Ranger to untap Virtual Ranger, which allows him to replay the Korean Ranger, and you get to use the Korean Ranger's ability again to untap another creature.
That's right. He does have 1 active Wirewood Symbiote here as well.
This is the Green Sun Zenith for 1, I believe. Nettle Sentinel?
Heritage
Oh,
Druid.
Heritage Druid. I thought he had one in his hand.
Yeah, I thought he did too, but he must not, because
Yeah.
now he's got
Yeah.
3 elves ready to go, so he's going to make 3 green mana here. And he's going to replay the Ranger. Creature elf.
Right. He's going to draw him a card. It looks like it's another Glimpse.
Once you get 2 glimpses going, it gets kind of silly.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we know that the Craterhoof Behemoth is gone.
Creative Behemoth is gone.
So what does that mean for Luis? Like, if he just fills out his entire board with elves, he doesn't have a way to actually win this turn, right?
I'm actually checking to see if he has any way to win this turn. And the Craterhoof Behemoth is actually gone. It's in the graveyard.
I think it got taken care of. It's either Thought Seized or Cabal Therapied or something. I think he Therapied for it. Remember, he Therapied and then he played it to take away. He played the second Tide Hollow Sculler to take away the Green Sun Zenith that you see there. So it's in the yard.
Yeah, it looks like Luis Scott Vargas, the biggest creature that could still be in his deck is a Regal Force.
Okay.
Which
again won't do anything this turn.
Right, he could play it, draw a bunch of cards, and just pass the turn.
We see the Gaia's Cradle here, so now Luis is in full go-off mode here.
Yeah, that Cradle just tapped for 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It just tapped for 9 mana.
All right, so it looks like Luis Scott Vargas has the green light. I think Sam Black is just F6 here and is going to basically just get a chance to...
So it looks like he boarded in his Progenitors, which gives him a win condition.
It does give him a win condition for next turn.
We were actually
Does Sam have a way to deal with it?
To deal with Progenitors?
Not a lot deals with it.
I do not think Sam Black has any cards in his deck, any combination of cards in his deck that can kill Progenitors once it's on the board.
Okay.
I just looked at his entire list. He cannot kill a Progenitors.
Okay. So he's going to have to kill Luis Scott Vargas then, and Luis is going to have a ton of creatures to block or whatever. I mean, I guess one way that this could go down is Sam Black could find a Zealous Persecution and get in for, cast it pre-combat, killing most of Luis's board, get in for a bunch of damage, and have something like a Goblin Bombardment to sack the rest of his team.
Yeah, I mean, that would actually be enough. That would be enough damage because he would have a bunch of 3-power creatures and a 2-power flyer, and Progenitors can only block one of those.
All right, so Luis, the judge was just called by Sam, as Luis said that he has 2.
I did have my hand on the whole time, but yeah.
Is it the amount of mana in the
Casting a
pool?
bunch of things to do.
They're just no. It's about how many cards Luis has drawn, and they're just clarifying something here. There's 2 glimpses going right now.
So I show you another card. I'm gonna have to read that.
All right. So what they're going to do is they're going to get a judge. There's a judge that we have at the table for coverage who helps us with life total updates and that kind of thing. But he's actually going to go ahead and grab a different judge. The players are chatting right now. This is, I don't know, I think this is a question of how many cards were drawn for his last
How many grudges in there?
creature cast.
Is the question too many? Is
It
the
could
question
be.
not enough?
It could be.
This is going to be hard to figure out exactly how many cards were drawn.
Yeah, Luis said that he's kept his hand separate the whole time. I heard him say that, but there's a lot going on. When a combo player is going off, there's many
I
things.
think the issue is that there are 3 cards right there.
Yeah, he's kept those separate.
And if those 3 cards had touched his hand, then they are technically drawn,
Right,
which would mean he would have drawn an extra card.
which is usually a game loss. We'll have to see.
So those 3 never touched your hand?
Yeah, like I started to draw them and stopped. So.
Okay, I think Luis is saying that he started to draw them but stopped. He said he's kept his hand separate the whole time, and usually what happens in this case is that it's for seeing extra cards, which is not the same thing as drawing
Yeah, I just,
them.
Well,
cast Vision Range with 3.
I don't know how this would
I
be.
guess I'm
They're
wrong.
technically not drawn if they always stay separate.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know
Which
if
is a
they
much
count
lesser-
as being seen if they were all face down.
yeah, sure.
Now, I don't know if he actually looked at those
Right,
cards. I don't
so
know if
this
he
is
looked at
going
any of those
cards.
cards.
There's no way I can
I
downgrade
don't
it.
even know.
Hold on, they're actually, the judges ruled that it's drawing extra cards.
They touch the rest of your hand. Like my opening game, the second game, third game. I have no idea.
Okay, so
I stopped myself when I said draw.
Like nothing
picked them
going
up,
on,
like they were in distance.
So like,
Like I never,
yeah, so
this hand never stopped.
if I get my hand like, basically like
For me to add in my hand.
If you guys can hear the players, Luis is saying that
Okay,
he
yeah,
did,
so
that his
yeah,
hand,
touch your
that
hand,
the
but
extra
they were-
cards
they
did
were
not touch
always
his hand, and that he
the same
stopped
drive
himself.
that were in your hand.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go talk to the head judge again and see if there's any possibility.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened is the judge came back and said this is drawing extra cards, and there's no way that he can downgrade it because he says that when Luis took his cards from the top of his library that they did touch the rest of his hand. Now Luis said that's not what happened. He said I stopped myself before I did. He said when I'm going off like this, I always keep my hands separate, and they didn't touch. And so, you know, Sam Black did the wise thing. He said I have no idea. You know, he's just like, you guys are going to have to figure this out. He didn't see. And
I didn't see, honestly.
No. I mean, there's way too many things happening at that speed to keep an eye on something like that. So what we have is Lems is coming over. He's the head judge, and he is going to talk to the players and get a ruling in here. So let's see what happens.
Alright, next time what happened?
So I cast this, drew 3. I have 2 blimps. And I cast this. I said draw 3. So my hand, like, I picked up my hand. They're like very close. Like, I mean, these cards fit physically touch, but I said draw 3, so I immediately
His
separated.
hand was always on those three, and his
Yeah.
other hand was over.
Sure.
Yeah, and so like I immediately caught myself because I realized I'd said draw 3, and this is a draw 2.
Okay. So,
I just said.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, sounds
I mean, no one else even noticed, but obviously, like, I heard what I said, so.
Right.
And I knew, so that is basically it.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just gonna talk to Sam for a second
I have
here.
absolutely nothing. Yeah,
Alright, I'd still like to talk to you for a second. Sounds good. Hey, guys.
All right, so Lems is going to take a minute to talk to Sam about the situation here. You heard what Luis said. He said that he said he drew 3.
Probably not gonna
And
understand
he
if I don't,
took the
but-
cards as if to draw them, did not put them into his hand, brought them
And I'm
nearer
really
to
wondering
his
the worst part
hand.
of
He actually said that he acknowledged that
He said he did say he acknowledged it, and that they may have briefly touched, but they were never in. You know, it was very, very close, is what it sounds like
The
to
only reason
me.
I'm still going off is to draw the
Luis,
one last
of
abrupt
course,
decay, it's
being
the only relevant card left in my
the
deck.
sportsman that he is you know, he's being 100% honest with the judge. He's saying, look, this is
Policies
exactly
have
what
a
happened.
Pretty clear line. It's when the cards touch the other cards. So
Like,
going to.
even though I just like holding these in my hand, and I called it on myself.
Like, I mean, they touch the other cards. We have to have a line. It's a very clear sentence in the policies that lay it out in order to be consistent. You put the cards, they've touched your hand, it's come together.
Like it doesn't even matter to. I mean, what? All right. It makes me feel really bad that I called it on myself because it doesn't matter. I'm drawing 10 cards like in my next step. Like, I don't know. It's pretty disappointing. Like I have a million mana floating in a bunch of glimpses.
You guys can hear Luis saying his side of the story
They
here.
came together. That is, we had to define a line. That is the line. I'm going to.
And it looks like
Even
Luis
if I
is
have
going to
the
be
cards
getting
in
a
my
game
hand,
loss here,
they touched the other
and you
cards.
can tell that he's a little frustrated by that because what happened is while he did make a clerical error, he called it on himself, and you know he feels, I think, like he should get a little bit of leeway for that. And you know, I'll let you decide at home for yourselves how you feel about it, but he did call it on himself. And the line, though, and what Lems has said here is that there's a clear line that has to be set for these type of interactions. In this case, it's if your hand's drawn touch the other cards in any way. And Luis acknowledged that might have happened. And so Lem says, well, the line is there, and we have to set it somewhere, and so we are going to have to give you a game loss. So it looks like, unfortunately, Luis is going to get a game loss here for that discrepancy.
And Sam Black wins 2-1.
So Sam Black is going to win 2-1.